Okay, it's just going to act up. We're going to go live this way. No intro.
Hello, everybody. Welcome in to another episode of the Couch GMs podcast. We are live. Thank you, Cody. It is.
How about that?
It's Thursday, July 21st, 2025. I'm your host, George Kurt, joined by the one and only Cody Roadcap. And of course, he waited until the day that we finally made it to mess up with the intro. It is officially a Hall of Fame game day. We officially have football back today.
Yo, what two teams are playing?
I don't even know, honestly. I'm a Chargers fan. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's the Chargers and the Lions. Come on, man. You got to know that. I think it's the Lions, Chargers, Lions. That's what Siri
He's not even confident. He's trying to go out here and throw shade.
I was thinking it was the Bears, but it was definitely Chargers, Lions.
Chargers, Lions sounds correct, but yes. Anyway, football is back. We are officially almost to August, and things are ramping up fast. We got a big episode today.
Big episode. Yeah, finishing out the top 100. Always great. Getting more and more closer to football. I mean, these episodes are great, but the next three we have lined up, I'm not even going to tell you what they are. You got to make sure you're subscribed, tuning in, joining the fun.
They are some fun episodes. Make sure you're subscribing, following us on social media at the Couch GMs on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok to get even more than you do from the show and get involved with us live Thursdays at 6:30. And we'll soon be announcing what we're going to be doing during the regular season. So make sure you're keeping an eye out for that. Before we get to the rest of our top 100, what's happening? Big news from the week. Do we change colors in the background too now? Is this throwing me off?
It was still the follow us on social media one. You didn't have to call it out. You could have just new segment, new color. Just let it roll.
I apparently can't do that. Anyway, big news coming from this week in training camp. Isaiah Likely rolled an ankle. He ended up having a broken bone in his foot. He's getting foot surgery, but he will miss about 6 to 8 weeks and be back in the early part of the season. So could have been a lot worse, but obviously not ideal for the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, the 6 to 8 week timeline is something to pay attention to, especially as fantasy drafts come up. I mean, he wasn't like a high-end tight end anyways. He still was going to battle with Mark Andrews, but could be a guy, later in the round. It's also worth reminding that as of last year, the NFL changed that now you can nominate 2 people on cutdown day for short-term IR with the possibility to return. Before that, you had to make the 53 and then go on IR the next day. Bean makes an appearance. Check us out on YouTube. Knocks over the camera and everything. Now I'm Spider-Man making the catch.
That's a great catch.
As I was saying, he seems like a prime candidate that goes on the short-term IR when they do the cut down to 53, comes back later in the season.
Yeah, definitely seems like somebody who could be. It depends, I think, on if they expect him to miss 4 weeks. Like if they think he's going to come back in week 2, he's not going to, go on short-term IR. They're just going to put him on the, 40-man roster or say. Yeah, I'm still in baseball mode, apparently. 53-man roster.
Well, that's a terrible mode to be in, so.
Yeah, right. It was baseball trade deadline day, too, for those sports fans out there. So
the only thing longer than the NFL offseason is the baseball regular season.
Exactly. And they almost work out that they fill in perfectly, too. So, anyway. Isaiah Likely did get a lot more involved in the offense last year, so it is definitely still a blow. Maybe for fantasy, not as much, but it's somebody who probably by midseason is going to be right back up to speed, and we probably won't even remember that it happened.
Or DeAndre Hopkins, just has a late career resurgence, and we forget all about him. We'll have to wait and see.
I mean, I will say that there hasn't been great success from veteran receivers going to Baltimore lately.
Hey, never know.
Moving on to tight end news. Noah Fant was released by the Seattle Seahawks and then quickly signed by the Cincinnati Bengals to play tight end 2 behind Mike Gesicki, or at least that's what we expect. But they're adding even more to their offense, maybe thinking that their defense is going to need all the help again this year.
I mean, I'm not going to go out there and act like Noah Fant is, the difference maker to, take their offense from 30 points to a game to 40. They're always going to rely on their offense with their 2-star.
They already had 40 points a game.
So yeah, they're not. I was just trying to say, Noah Fant, nice addition, but it's more. It feels like an extra camp body at this point than making a true impact. But I guess you never know. Maybe he finally reaches his potential.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we'll see there. There is a lot of mouths to feed in offense, so I'm not expecting it to be a big deal. And then for the two people I've heard out there that kept saying that Zach Moss is still going to eat into Chase Brown's carries, Zach Moss was released by the Bengals today as well. So that is no longer something in that backfield.
Yeah, Chase Brown. I mean, I wasn't worried about Zach Moss. Really like Chase Brown. So we might even talk about Chase Brown today. Maybe we talked about him already. I don't remember.
No, I think we're talking about Chase Brown today. Just a little teaser ahead. And then because the Bengals have stuff all over the news, Trey Hendrickson ended his holdout. There is no contract still yet, but it does seem more and more likely that he's staying in Cincy, which is not something I was expecting to see.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that he's staying in Cincinnati by any stretch of the, imagination. He's ended his holdout, but it's just now hold end. So basically he's not getting fined. Depending on what you want to latch onto based on his interview, him saying that him and ownership are in agreement that he's not going to play under this current contract. Some people are taking that as, oh, they're going to work out a deal and he'll be back. I've seen other people say, yeah, ownership saying you're not playing on that contract, we're going to trade you. So how you read between the lines really determines this whole situation with Trey Hendrickson, which they need to figure out sooner rather than later.
Yes, they do. I mean, maybe they're sitting there trying to wait and see if an edge gets hurt in training camp and they find a trade partner. But I feel like unless that happens, there's no trade partner that's just going to pop up out of nowhere, especially with the contract that he's demanding, because that would have happened already in the offseason.
Yeah, I think it's more of a PR move. Also have to give what's up to Brian Seven out there. I had to say that to him, but
PR move. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, PR move for Trey Hendrickson. When is the right time to trade him? Like how can you deliver the blow for? Okay, we're not going to get a first round pick for him. We're not going to get a second round pick. Maybe we'll get a third round pick. When is the right time to announce that to the team? I mean, all eyes are on Trey Hendrickson situation right now, but you have the Terry McLaurin situation. He's technically on PUP, but he went from a holdout to a hold in. And then Micah Parsons, he's out there practicing, but everyone's looking to him for another contract situation. And you got his owner, Jerry Jones, saying, well, the pay me crowd was louder for CeeDee Lamb last year than it is for Micah Parsons, which I don't know how that helps any situation there. But those are the three players to keep an eye on. At the end of the day, they probably all end up on the same team that they're currently in. But it could make for a fun, interesting late August if all three of them got moved.
Oh, that's true. Because I mean, the next time, besides if there's an injury, like I mentioned, that you see most likely for a trade would be right around cutdown day, when teams have to be cap compliant and obviously roster compliant. But I don't see much happening, and I would also say leave it to Jerry Jones to be like, oh, the pay me crowd's more loud for CeeDee than it is Micah, and having that working into his mindset through everything. It's a nice desk you got there, Cody.
Yeah, don't look. It's a little messy. I have no idea why that just happened. We're just having all kinds of technical difficulties here.
While you're trying to fix your camera, I'll also mention the Shamar Stewart situation in Cincinnati as well has finally been resolved, as he finally signed his rookie contract. I mean, there's only one rookie left that has not signed a rookie deal, and that's Quinshon Judkins, who's going through his legal situation with the Browns. But Stewart was kind of signed to be the guy that could fill in for Hendrickson's role. They have him under contract now, and we'll see if Hendrickson finds a way to make it work with them. And then obviously both is better when you have a defense like you did last year in Cincy. But they did finally sign that replacement.
Yeah, which I don't remember the exact number, but I feel like it took like $500,000 for.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was not a lot
for it to like be worked out. And I was like, all that for $500,000. That's why people talk about Cincinnati being one of the worst front offices seems like a lot of drama about nothing. But yeah, good to have him back. They might need it if they don't have Hendrickson. I know Hendrickson's even talked about how he was looking forward to playing with Jahmyr and kind of being like a Cam Jordan to Trey Hendrickson, like when they went through the time in New Orleans together, like the veteran mentoring the young guy. So hopefully it's all good and well in Cincinnati come September when we kick off. But that last piece of news we got on the rundown here, Courtland Sutton, 4-year, $92 million extension. I actually missed this one. But I mean, I feel like he's been an underrated receiver for a while now, and he had a big year with Bo Nix and Sean Payton. So kudos to them to locking him up.
I think the public perception of like Courtland Sutton has changed so much over the last 2-3 years with the injuries, and then obviously the quarterback play and the offense struggling. But now then you see this contract come in, you're like, wow, that's a lot of money for Courtland Sutton. But I feel like if this contract went through 3 years ago, it would have been, that's market value for Sutton. He deserves that. So good job by the Broncos to do right for him. And hopefully he has even more of a breakout as Bo Nix continues to grow this year.
For sure. But George, you wanna jump into our top 100, start doing that kind of stuff?
I'm ready. As a reminder, Cody with the smirk, you know why if you're watching us on YouTube or Spotify. As a reminder, if you missed the first 2 episodes of our top 100, make sure you go back and check them out either in your podcast feed, YouTube, Spotify, Facebook. And we covered 100 to 51 in our first episode, 50 to 26 last episode, and we're doing 25 to 1 today. So anything you want to mention before we jump in?
Just a reminder, if this is your first time listening or you only want to see the top 25, this isn't a top 25 players in the NFL. This is the fantasy top 25, more resembles a ADP average draft position spot. So you might see some quarterbacks and be like, they should be top 3, or you might see some players that should be higher. It's fantasy perspective, not skill talent perspective, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And I think the first, if I'm not mistaken, the first thing in our rankings here is going to show that, as 25 to 21 includes number 25, Bucky Irving, 24, Lamar Jackson, 23, Josh Allen, 22, Brock Bowers, and 21, Ladd McConkey. So yeah, right off the bat, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen being on here at 24, 23. If this was just straight player rankings, they would be higher. But in fantasy, looking at third-ish round in 10-team leagues for those top 2 quarterbacks to come off the board.
Yeah, and they're probably lower on our list than they're actually going to go in most drafts. I mean, Lamar, Josh Allen have potential to go in the first round. Some people will take their quarterback early. And obviously this is more of your half point PPR, even standard or full point PPR, not your super flex leagues where that would completely change this as well. But yeah, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, the right time to take them would be that end of round 2. If you're in 12-man leagues, beginning of round 3, get, some players at other key positions first, just because of the, quarterbacks were big proponents of drafting them late. But I mean, I'm not going to be upset if I take Lamar Jackson over Josh Allen, or if I take Lamar Jackson over Ladd McConkey either, even though they're a little bit lower on our list.
Exactly. And yeah, like you said, I feel like their ADPs might actually be near end of round 2. And just for fun here, I'm trying to go back and see if we had a big difference in rankings personally, because these are actually average rankings between Cody and myself. I had Lamar Jackson 1 spot higher. You had Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen 1 spot higher on your rankings. So still right next to each other. But
and did I have them at 23, 24?
You had 21, 22, and I had 25, 26. So
gotcha. So I was even a little bit higher.
Yeah, both of us really don't like taking quarterbacks this early, but you're always going to find a couple of drafts where we do. So
yeah, I mean, I honestly, after like the top 20 players, if I could get like Lamar Jackson, like there is a sweet spot of when I think the top quarterback is. It's just most of the leagues that I'm drafting, they still go too early for me.
And I think we're early enough in the draft at this point where maybe at some point today we're going to start talking tiers, but I'll save that for a little bit later. Bucky Irving breaking the top 25 as a sophomore is something worth talking about.
I don't love Bucky Irving. I mean, I feel like he was kind of a guy you had to put in somewhere. Like, I just have a hard time seeing him repeat his end of the season run that he did last year with a new offensive coordinator. I think he's very talented. I liked him coming out of the draft. Uh, I just don't know if it's worth taking him this high. Like, at some point, again, there'll be a sweet spot, but he's like the guy for me that this year that, like, I'm probably not going to have a lot of shares of because I'm always going to have that, like, but was that real? And sometimes you have to get over that. Sometimes you have to buy into what they're doing. And sometimes you look at the other competition around him and there's not much. And it's not a great division either. So he definitely has some value, which is why he's in the top 25. But personally, he's one of those guys that I'll probably be avoiding.
Before we keep going here, I do have something to hit.
Did feel my pocket vibrate, so hit me.
You did. I mean, it kind of stinks it didn't happen a few minutes ago, so we were just talking about him. But news on Terry McLaurin. Negotiations have stalled between Terry McLaurin and the Washington Commanders, and he has officially requested a trade.
I think it'll be interesting to see where he's going to go. And hopefully they can figure it out, right? Like we saw this with Deebo Samuel a couple years ago. And again,
he's now on the Commanders, funny enough.
Yeah, you're talking about guys on, teams that, were very competitive. But this Commanders team, they think of them because of, Jaden Daniels. I was blanking on his name for some reason. This young team, but really they're the team full of veterans with the young quarterback. They have your Austin Eckler, your Bobby Wagner, your Deebo Samuel. Like, they have the older guys to compete now. And like Terry McLaurin fits that timeline. He's had a great season last year with Jaden Daniels. Like, I still think they find a way to get it done. Whether the trade, just puts pressure on them and they're like, okay, let's figure this out. But I also understand from a team building perspective, even though I think it would be a smart move for them, why you don't want to give a 30-year-old wide receiver, $30 million, $35 million a year, or whatever he's going to demand. So seeing what teams out there that, could make sense for him, that could be fun. I think, honestly, you could get him to Los Angeles, be with the Chargers, have him on the outside with McConkey in the middle with that run game. I think that'd be a fun match made that I just thought about here in the last 7 seconds.
Yeah, that would be a good match made. I just feel like even when you think about it more and more, the best fit for Terry McLaurin is exactly where he's at, because I know they have more money dug into the wide receiver room now since they traded for Deebo Samuel in the offseason. But you have to think they'd have to find some kind of flat cap flexibility with him, knowing that they have the quarterback on the rookie deal. And like you said, when it comes to the timeline, there's a lot of teams that have been able to make runs in years 2, 3, 4 of that rookie contract. And they even made a run last year, which was surprising as with a rookie quarterback. But like, you have to find a way to not take a step back when you're in this situation with the way you're building your team. So if they do trade Terry McLaurin to anywhere, I think it's a big L for Washington's franchise.
I would agree with that. And you have to think they'd want to go somewhere to the AFC. Maybe they're like, okay, fine, we're going to send you to Tennessee, or we're going to send you to Las Vegas. You're just going to go be a guy. What will none of them want to give up for a 30-year-old wide receiver is interesting. But if they wanted to go in the NFC, and I don't think it would be great, but a team that he destroyed last year in the playoffs, the Lions, if they wanted to bring him in, I know they're expecting a lot out of Jameson Williams this upcoming season. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown, but their depth chart after those two, and gauge how much you really love their wide receiver too, and Jameson Williams after his injury riddled start to his career. Like, I think he would be a good fit for another team that is kind of like in a win now mode.
Yeah, no, Detroit makes sense, except for I feel like Jameson Williams and him work very similarly. I mean, the other guys on their roster that are notable are Tim Patrick and Khalif Raymond. I didn't even realize Tim Patrick was still playing, honestly, because he was out with injury for, I think, 2 seasons in a row. But they have Jameson Williams, I believe, going into a contract year, and they have a lot of money, allocated elsewhere with the veteran quarterback, and they've been trying to make a run over the last 2 years. So I think it'd be tough for them to make that work.
I mean, you can make anything work these days. So It all
That's true.
because
Cap
when he
hit.
gets traded, it's going to be a new contract. So, I mean, they could basically do the Saints special and have him on the books for the veteran minimum this year and deal with the cap implosion down the line.
Very fair. But anything else you want to add here when we get back to the top 25?
No, let's do it.
All right. Bring this back up here one more time. You mentioned Ladd McConkey, actually, when we were talking about potential landing spots for Terry McLaurin, and him, another sophomore. I guess him and Brock Bowers all up here in the top, 25 to 21 here. It's interesting youth movement at this part of the draft.
Yeah, and I think Brock Bowers is too high, but that's a different conversation for a different. Like, I wouldn't take Brock Bowers over any
because this is actually going to be one of the conversations of the day. I think the Brock Bowers versus, we talked about Trey McBride last time, because you have McBride ranked higher than Bowers. You have Bowers at 28, McBride at 27. He averaged up to 26 in our top 100 rankings. And then I have Bowers all the way up at 16, as I'm bullish on him being the new tight end 1. And that goes somewhere in the second round.
Yeah, there's not a world I wouldn't take. And I don't like to take tight ends or wide receivers or tight ends or quarterbacks early. I don't think there's a world I would take Brock Bowers over Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson.
Is it just, has one season, he's on Vegas, hasn't proved a lot yet? Because I feel like maybe you could say this about Travis Kelce at some point when he was still in his prime, but you still had situations where you took him.
It's more of value at the tight end position. I know he had a really good year, but there has been a lot of change. He's a good player, but there's been a lot of change in Las Vegas. They, got a new quarterback. They got a new head coach, a coach that wants to run the ball more, a quarterback that has never featured a fantasy relevant tight end on a consistent basis. So there's just a lot of negative factors for me to buy in on the Brock Bowers site. Maybe he proves me wrong. He has the talent to do it. I will admit that, but
he played on a objectively worse team last year and did fantastic.
I mean, sure, but I think that the outside factors of new quarterback, new head coach, new offensive system, can they make him featured? Absolutely. Again, I just don't. I think they have a lot of things going against him that I don't know, and that's why I like Trey McBride better than him this year, even if it is by one spot on my rankings. That I think the value of where he is being drafted is too high for me. I don't think the difference maker from him to, him to Trey McBride, or if we want to start talking other tight ends, is enough to make him the 16th overall fantasy player drafted, like you have him.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe I'm slightly bullish on him, but I do think it's Bowers, McBride, top tier. And then you're talking about what's their value versus tier 2, which is obviously why Kelce was so high. Kelce scored plenty of points back in his prime, but he was just
put George Kittle
better than the next guy.
In the top tier. I would still put George Kittle in the top tier.
That's fair. He did finish pretty well last year. So,
or he's getting, if he didn't want to, he's getting tier 2 all to himself.
Yes, something like that. I could agree with that. Okay. Anything else on 25 to 21?
Nah, let's get in this top 20.
Top 20, 20 to 16. Kyron Williams at number 20, AJ Brown 19, Josh Jacobs at 18, Jonathan Taylor at 17, and Drake London at 16. Floor is yours, Cody.
Yeah, I mean, Kyron Williams is another guy that's kind of in a little bit of a contract situation. Not that he's holding out, but he wants a new deal as his time and his contract is running up in LA. But Sean McVay, Kyron Williams, they run the ball. There's no reason he's up there or not up.
Sean McVay has hyped up Kyron Williams since he drafted him. So,
yeah. Drake London, I will talk about him. He's number 16 on the list. He's another interesting name for me. Like, you could say at the end, we could be talking in January as Drake London as wide receiver 1. I think he has that potential. But then we could also be like, oh man, Michael Penix didn't make anything happen. Kirk Cousins came off the bench and still didn't look great. And Drake London is being drafted where Michael Pittman is this year, just outside the top 100. Like the realm of possibilities for Drake London, I think, are some of the highest or lowest of any player in the league. And that's a high variance player to take, right outside the top 15.
It really is. And I think because he's so boomer bust and because we're so close to the top of the draft, we can kind of like project out where some of these drafts might go. Who would you have to take in the first round to feel comfortable enough to take such a boomer bust player in round 2?
Let's see. I mean, if you're in a 10-man league, right? And we'll just say
Mhm.
he's at pick 16. So you're at the end of the second round, which means you had a higher first round pick. I think you'd feel okay.
You'd be
Especially if you're,
picking 4 if you picked 16, I
yeah.
believe.
So if you're doing the Saquon or the Bijan, or, maybe you get Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, assuming those are the top 4 guys, one of them would be there at 4. I mean, I think you're okay taking with all those because you have your stars. It's that next tier, like after you get the top end guy, I don't know if you want to double up with him. Um, I mean, in your 12-man leagues, maybe if you're in a 12-man league, I might just bite the bullet, say I'm going big swings and trying to do like Christian McCaffrey, Drake London, and then I'm going safe the rest of the way. Like I'm
Yeah.
taking like safe picks the rest of it, but I'm going to take 2 big swings early, and I think that could be a really fun team or a team that makes you want to pull your hair out or turn off your fantasy app by week 7. So,
I mean, and if you blow up one of the 2 picks, it's not necessarily the end of the world. You brag all the time about how you drafted Christian McCaffrey 101 last year and still made a fantasy championship game. But if you blow up both of those picks, it's hard to come back from.
yeah, and drafting isn't the end all be all, like you just mentioned. And a lot of people won with Mason Rudolph as their quarterback last year because of all the injuries. So, something to monitor as well. But I'm ready for the top 15 unless there's another name on this list that you want to dive into.
No, I'm surprised you didn't want to talk about Josh Jacobs just because it's you, but I'm cool with jumping into 15
Too
to
low.
11.
There, I talk about it. Too low.
15 to 11. 15, Devon Achane. 14, Brian Thomas. 13, Ashton Jeanty. 12, Derrick Henry. And 11, Christian McCaffrey, someone you just mentioned. I like where we dropped Ashton Jeanty a lot more than where he was going ADP of like a month and a half ago when we were talking about our do not draft.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's also worth noting because this is week 3 of it. We did our rankings 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago at this point, and haven't updated them because we didn't want to mess up the order. So things could change and be fluid as we get closer to draft season. If you start the list up, where did we each specifically put Jeanty?
13 across the board.
So 13.
Yep.
So one, I think it's interesting you have 2 Raiders in the top 16. That's crazy to me, but we don't have to go into that detail either. But Jeanty, he's another guy. It's just like you've seen all the talent. You saw how well he did at Boise State.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the Pete Carroll effect plays into his favor. Like everything, seems like, oh yeah, this should be the same guy. I don't know if it's the Clyde Edwards-Helaire, pick 5 people. You're scaring people still.
Gosh, yeah.
But we've seen rookie running backs. Is it the Bijan Robinson didn't, have the rookie year that we all hope because he was in a split? I mean, I don't know he's going to really be a split there in Las Vegas. Jeanty is just such a question mark for me. But the 2 guys in front of him, I think I would pair if I wanted to go running back, getting a Christian McCaffrey, probably even a Derrick Henry with an Ashton Jeanty. I think that'd be a fun dynamic duo to, roll through fantasy with to start your drafts.
I feel like one of the things that we kept saying when we were talking early draft season was, I'd really love to have an end of the first round turn, like pick 10 turn of Henry and McCaffrey. And I do think it's a good point with Jeanty there. You maybe take Henry if you can and pair him with Jeanty. Henry hopefully being your safe player, Jeanty being your boomer bust guy. But I still do think a McCaffrey Jeanty, pairing works. The nice thing we know about Jeanty is the workload's going to be there. There's no denying, like you said, with Pete Carroll there, and he is a 3-down back, you're going to have the opportunity there. It's just we don't know if if it's going to take a while for him to get up to speed. The NFL is a different monster. He was dominating college football, but we've seen plenty of people dominate college football and then come into the NFL, and it's a struggle.
Yep. All right. Since we're talking about Derrick Henry, fan question here from Ryan. Talking a little dynasty trade action. Would you send Chris Olave for Derrick Henry in dynasty? He's in win now mode. His other running backs are Brees Hall, Alvin Kamara, Jacobs, ETN, and Ramondre Stevenson.
I kind of want to know how many running backs he can start, because that seems like a heavy team with running backs. Although, like Kamara, if you don't have to start him, that'd be fantastic. Same with ETN. If this was 2 years ago, it'd be different. So you got Jacobs and Brees, which is fine, but I think for win now, Henry for Olave makes sense to me. We don't know if Olave is going to have any value. We're just really hoping so. He also doesn't have a quarterback still.
All right. He chimed in, said it's 2 running backs, 2 flex to help
No
that
problem
out.
starting the 3 running backs. That's good.
I would do it. We don't know who Olave's quarterback is. He hasn't shown the ability to stay healthy. Obviously, it's been concussions, which is something that we hope they end, but something definitely to monitor there. You're in win now mode. You have a solid starting 2 running backs with Henry and Josh Jacobs at that point. Brees Hall, Kamara, ETN, they can all rotate in your flex position for me. So I would do that trade. But I'm pretty low on Olave this year. I mean, George, we're doing the top 100 right now. Did we have Olave in the top 100?
We did have Olave in the top 100. I'll try to find him. And I'm higher on Olave than you are, definitely. And I still think that you should do this deal if you're in win now mode. If you were even questioning like you were a borderline playoff team or such, I would say maybe you hold on to Olave for longer term value. But I think you do that in a win now. And to give you an idea, Olave was 64th on our top 100 board.
Yeah. So looking for this upcoming season, you're basically getting the 12th best player for the 64th best player. I know Dynasty has its caveats, which is why it makes it an interesting conversation. But yeah,
but
for
if
me,
you're win now mode, you're looking a lot at like similar rankings to a redraft as opposed to trying to map out the longer term value. And you still probably have next year with Henry as well. I think actually probably 2 more years. I think he just signed an extension actually. So 2 more years with Henry.
Yeah.
After this year.
And like thinking about it, like even right now, Olave's value is probably at its lowest, and you're still getting Derrick Henry.
Oh yeah.
So like, I guess if he gets hurt again, maybe that would be his lowest. But I think I would do this trade, no brainer. But thanks for the question, Ryan, and that is a perfect transition into the top 10.
The top 10, we're going to go 10 to 6. Number 10, Nico Collins. 9, Malik Nabers. 8, Puka Nacua. 7, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And 6, CD Lamb. Wide receivers still dominating this part of the top 10. And I mean, overall, I know there's more wide receivers than running backs in the top 10, something 2 or 3 years ago.
I also helped contribute to this list.
You did. Although I don't think we had anybody that was very far off in any of our rankings. There was one person that I had in the top 10, you didn't. And it's funny enough, that person is Nico Collins. I had him at 9, you had him at 12.
Yeah. And honestly, that's just because I gave the slight edge to Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, right? Like, it's not like there's, I think Nico Collins is definitely worth the first round pick. So he got 12 for 12-man leagues, which is kind of like a standard way to look at it. So solid player, has had some injuries, but when he's on and connected, and no, I'm not really worried about them drafting, multiple wide receivers. It's still the Nico Collins show there in Houston.
Well, yeah, because I mean, when you look at it, all they've done is draft receivers that are going to replace receivers that have either left in free agency or are missing the season. So yeah, Jaden Higgins, he's going to be a great later round pick and a flyer, but it's not taking away from Nico Collins, it's supporting Nico Collins.
Exactly. Malik Nabers, that one's the fun one to watch. Another guy that has, all the, hype in the world. Another, sophomore coming in, strong season. Has Russell Wilson, as his quarterback, which might throw some question marks, but he balled out with, Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito last year, and just a few other guys. So Malik Nabers is a fun one to watch. But I do think, you like talking about tiers. I think that 8 mark, maybe even 7, depending on how much you're worried about Puka Nacua's health, is kind of like where I see a tier break, but even between like the guys on this list.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And I mean, you might be similar to us where like Collins and Nabers are in a tier with Henry, McCaffrey, maybe Jeanty. Like that could be a tier, I think. And you just take, like, do you prefer the running back or the receiver in that tier?
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it too. But I think in terms of like drafting, obviously I have an idea of who the top 5 is. I can't remember the exact layout. We'll have to get there to a second, where I'm surprised, just like the listeners are. But we talk about like if you're in a league that you get to pick your draft spot or anything like that, that 7 spot, the Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think is like the latest I feel comfortable picking in the first round to getting a top guy, unless you're going to try to go for the Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey stack, pick 10, which I think is a fun one as well. But that's more of like a niche stack there.
I think it depends if you're used to and enjoy drafting earlier or later in your round. Because I personally think I have Amon-Ra or Puka, wherever I kind of like, I'm still kind of feeling out at the end of my tier 2, which is fine. You can determine that, tier 2, then I get that faster turnaround in the second round. That's fantastic. But I'm kind of probably not as high on the Puka, Amon-Ra, and CD are.
Okay. I just think after Amon-Ra, that's where the guaranteed production. I mean, these all guys are going to produce, but like guaranteed top getters, like it's hard to make an argument for why they won't succeed. Whereas like Puka, I think he's going to still be the number 1 guy, but it could be Devontae Adams eats into his roles. Malik Nabers, how does he do with Russell Wilson? Nico Collins, how does CJ Stroud work out? Like there's starts to become the question marks where I think, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, and then our top 5 are quote unquote safe picks, as much as you can say that about fantasy football.
Yeah, sorry, I think I'm having a little bit of an internet issue here, but I think we're yeah, no, they're not. It's not saying they're bad picks either. I'm just trying to say, like, if you have your first choice of draft spot, you have to determine how much almost you like that second round turn on if you're going to pick 7 or 8 or if you're going to pick, say, 3, 4.
Yeah, I know a lot of times how I look at it is if you're in a league that you get to pick your spot based on, however, I always try to pick my top guys that I feel comfortable with as like being the quote unquote face of my franchise or the face of my team, and kind of work backwards from there. So if Amon-Ra St. Brown at 7 is that line, if it's CeeDee Lamb at 6, if it's Malik Nabers at 9, it's whatever guy you feel the most comfortable. I work myself back there, but then I would say I try to go for that last spot. I'm comfortable with any of these guys, but then I want the highest pick on the turn. So that's where this year I might be looking at that 6-7 range in 10-man leagues, maybe even later in 12-man leagues because of that turn situation too. So just some fun fantasy advice, and you'll see all that play out in the next coming weeks.
Teaser. Oh, he's given hints.
Dropping hints, dropping names.
Dropping hints.
Drop the top 5.
Dropping the top 5. 5 to 1. Oh, too many buttons.
It's okay.
There we go.
This whole show has been a
number 5, Jahmyr Gibbs
of the screens.
It has been. So sorry if anyone's got motion sickness if you're watching us, but number 5, Jahmyr Gibbs. Number 4, Bijan Robinson. Number 3, Justin Jefferson. 2, Saquon Barkley, and 1, Ja'Marr Chase. This 5 right here is my tier 1.
Okay. I can understand that as well. I do think CD and Amon-Ra, because of their workload, will fit in there. Like Dak is back healthy. I know I'm higher on George Pickens than you are, so I don't see him taking away from. And like Lamb has done it consistently, even last year without Dak, he was still a high points getter. So for me, I think that's Like he's had better seasons than Bijan Robinson's ever had, but Bijan's always ahead of him. I just think he's a fair play. But if you want to say that these top 5 are the top 5, that's totally fine with me. I mean, I can't argue that.
No, I mean it depends. I have not been as much of a fan of CD Lamb. Maybe there's homerism there. I'm sorry. But no, there's no denying he has done it over and over, and he's been healthy for the most part. Obviously, last year some people might feel like they were burned because he got to the fantasy playoffs and he had his shoulder situation. They had to shut it down because the Cowboys were not in their chase anymore. I know I'm somebody who kind of bought into him to try to make a final run last year, but when he got knocked out, I was eliminated, so it didn't really affect me. But Bijan kind of really came onto the scene last year. We kind of saw him finally get more of a workload. And then obviously, I think you can tell by even the Drake London ranking, we're expecting Atlanta's offense to take a step. We have faith in their quarterback situation, which is why Bijan sits here above Jahmyr Gibbs. And I actually have Bijan at 3. You have him at 4. I know some people even have Bijan moving into their top 2.
Yeah, I would not put. I think you have a higher chance to convince me to move Jahmyr Gibbs all the way up into my top 2 than Bijan. Even though
And the weirdest thing about it is Gibbs probably is going to get less touches than Bijan does.
Yeah, like people forget David Montgomery is still in Detroit. Yep. Like I think this will be the 3rd year in a row we're just going to be like, oh, Jahmyr Gibbs show now, and then David Montgomery gets the first touchdown. And I'm like, oh, still not the Jahmyr Gibbs show completely. But yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs is an interesting name. The Justin Jefferson, he did tweak his hamstring. Nothing to be, worried about. Like they're not worried about him missing any time, just giving a couple days off in practice. But that has bothered him before, his hamstrings. So that is something to monitor as we get closer and closer to the season. But honestly, he's starting for me, and I don't know if it's, Madden curse, running backs, my love for wide receivers, but honestly, Justin Jefferson's starting to be like, I might actually want him over all 3 of those running backs in the top 5, and just let me get him, even though there is a lot of uncertainty at his quarterback position.
And obviously, it's just quarterback inexperience. It's not like there's who's going to play it, but Jefferson has proved it with multiple different quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks, third-string quarterbacks, that he's still going to get his. And I will say, if there's a time to get a hamstring injury, now is the time, because they still have plenty of time for him to get beyond 100% before he goes back out there and pushes it. It's not like during the season where we always see reoccurring hamstring injuries because players trying to get back into it before it's too late and you go too soon.
Yeah. I was just more saying he has a history of them than not that I'm worried about him starting. But yeah, Jamar Chase, like it just feels like such a home run. Number 1 overall pick, Triple Crown. Still has Joe Burrow. Still has a weak defense. They're going to put up points. Has the full offseason. But it's very rare that the number 1 pick ends up leading you to a fantasy championship on that guy alone. Like the last guy I can think that did it was like the 3 years in a row where Todd Gurley was the number 1 guy. Like those 2 years, it was like, oh yeah, you draft him, you got a playoff spot locked up. Like, and Jamar Chase feels like that guy this year.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting seeing wide receivers in that one spot, because 9 times out of 10 in our fantasy careers, it was running backs in that spot, and the position's even more volatile. But there's so many things that can go wrong, and when you're picking one and then don't have another pick until 2024, or depending on if you're in a 10 or 12 team league, it's a lot of pressure on that player. Chase can do it. I mean, honestly, I think Jefferson, Saquon could do it as well. But we're dealing with so many factors with injury or Madden curses or whatever it might be.
All right, just a little fun exercise real quick. I'm using our rankings. We're going to say 12-man league. You have the number 1 pick. Would you rather have the Jamar Chase, Lamar Jackson, Bucky Irving, or Saquon Barkley? We'll give you the same quarterback, Lamar Jackson and Tyreek Hill. Like, what 3 to start your draft would you want better right there using our rankings?
I would probably rather go with the 2 pick and Barkley, get Tyreek Hill as my wide receiver 1, and then the quarterback.
Okay. I mean, that you could do with our rankings. You could also get a Devontae Adams, who's right after there. I think I would still go the Ja'Marr Chase route in that situation. Honestly, if this is me talking, I'm going Ja'Marr Chase, Lamar Jackson, and Tyreek Hill or Devontae Adams. And I'm like, I'll just get a running back down in the 30s to the 40s.
Zero running back Cody is back again.
Like a James Conner and a Joe Mixon, and we're just going to have a fun team that way. You don't hate it.
I mean,
I know you don't.
We've seen it work before. I don't hate it because you have so much talent at the top and your wide receivers are going to carry you. You just have to try to find points at running back. And I think we're at the point where we can find Chuba Hubbard down there in the 40s to make it work for you. James Conner is going to score enough touchdowns for you that if you get him as your running back 1, you'll at least stay afloat. It's not impossible to win a championship like that, but you have to know what your targets are at those running backs in those mid rounds because you need to hit.
Yeah. And you also have the wide receivers to trade if you get into the later season. But that was our top 100. George, we don't have to run through them all, but do you want to recap the 25 to number 1?
Let's do it. We're going to go. Do you want to go back and forth here, Cody?
Sure. You
all
mean
right,
by 5, not by name, right?
By 5s. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. 25, we had Bucky Irving. 24, Lamar Jackson. 23 is Josh Allen. 22, Brock Bowers. And 21 was Ladd McConkey.
20 would be Kyron Williams from the Los Angeles Browns. Wow. Los Angeles Brown. What is my problem today? Let's start this over.
Round or Brown? Because I think you said both.
I combined Rams and Browns together. I don't know why. They're not even close geographically, color schemes, how good the organizations are. I really don't know where that came from. Maybe I saw AJ Brown, and that's what it is. So let's start this over. Number 20, Kyron Williams of the Los Angeles Rams. AJ Brown, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, and Drake London.
Going on to 15, we have Devon Achane, and then Brian Thomas, Ashton Jeanty, Derrick Henry, and then number 11 was Christian McCaffrey.
Then we got Nico Collins at 10, 9, Malik Nabers, 8, Puka Nacua, 7, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then 6 was CeeDee Lamb.
And then rounding out the top 5, Jahmyr Gibbs at 5, Bijan Robinson 4, Justin Jefferson at 3, Saquon Barkley at 2, and Ja'Marr Chase at 1.
And that is our top 100. As George mentioned, this has been a 3-week endeavor. So if you want to check out them all, or you can just go over to our social media, but we'd appreciate if you listen to the podcast. Maybe hit subscribe while you're over there.
Yeah, definitely hit subscribe. Check us out. A lot of fun stuff coming up. Cody did a little bit of teasing of it in the last few minutes, but it's going to be a fun end to the off season. As much as we're ready for the regular season to go, I'm excited to get into the next month.
Me too. I am looking forward to the next month or so as we get into this. A lot, like I mentioned, a lot of fun content. We've dropped some hints along the way. Some stuff we've done in the past, some new stuff coming. So make sure you are tuned in as we get there. George, I'm going to hit this.
That aren't us either, right?
What's that?
Some voices that aren't us too.
Yeah. There is some more. That's our final hit for today. Voices that aren't us. So let's see. Does my buttons work this time? Should the music be starting? You know what that means. The show is wrapping up. As always, Thursday at 6:30 on Facebook and YouTube. Make sure you're in the comments. And if you want, you can check out the podcast in your podcast feeds the next morning. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, and all those good places. I'm Cody Roadcap. That's George Kurtz. And we'll talk to you all next week.